Yeah, so this is a video to Ken Katona, aka Star Sagittarius, and whatever other dumb channels he has. I just have a question, like, who exactly are you trying to convince, and what are you trying to convince them of? I mean, look, I notice you have 12 subs to your channel, dude. You know, like, if you're gonna make shit up about somebody, you know, you could try to be original instead of just saying the same stupid shit over and over again. It might, you know, and if you did that, more people might find your channel interesting and they might start subbing if you know, put some effort into it. So that would be my advice. Um, yeah.
Okay, making a car video. That's a big tanker truck. So let's talk about Gary Moser. Okay, now he has basically in his last video admitted that he is a flat earther, and let me explain why. So his argument has always been against flat earthers. If you ever listen to him talk about flat earth, that the biggest argument against flat earthism is the fact that the people who are proponents of the theory of flat earth would have to accept the reality of a massive conspiracy theory involving millions of people, and that's crazy. And he doesn't understand, so he has recently admitted that he believes that college students who are taking physics courses, and also high school students who are taking physics in high school, are able to perform the elastic collision experiment from the Walter Lewin video on their own. And he has opined that, you know, it's really a wonder that these students haven't figured out yet that their teachers are lying to them. Because when they do the experiment, surely the result must be different. And so he questioned, what do the teachers tell those students when their results come out different? You know, which implies two things. One, he actually believes that all these teachers and professors are lying and rigging the experiments ahead of time to come out a certain way. And the students are doing the experiments and coming up with different answers, and then the teachers are lying to them and making up post hoc explanations for why the results come out different. Okay, so that's what he believes. That's a flat earth theory. That involves a conspiracy with hundreds of thousands of people. It includes high school students who do the experiments and then not mentioning it to anybody for decades. And it involves a massive conspiracy theory of college graduates and professors and grad students, all, you know, and teaching assistants and everybody involved, and the manufacturers of these track experiments that they sell to high schools. And it involves all these people involved in a conspiracy to hide the fact that kinetic energy and momentum don't work together. And what the fuck reason would they have for doing that? Well, we don't know. Maybe it's because they want to believe in free will, and they want everyone else to believe in free will. And if people realize that momentum and kinetic energy don't work together, then they obviously don't have free will, because, I don't know. So yeah, he's a a conspiracy theorist, a crackhead, a crackpot. Okay, we get that. Yeah, yeah, okay. Newsflash. Now, what else is new? But it raises an interesting point that, or it raises an issue that I think is really interesting, and it is this: Gary Mosher is a liar. He does not really believe the bullshit coming out of his mouth. He couldn't possibly. How could he possibly make that argument against flat earthers and then make the same argument that flat earthers make against people who believe in classical physics? How could he possibly do that? And so he's lying. And then so the question becomes, why is he a liar? Oh, did I miss my fucking turn? Shit! I'm yelling because I don't think the microphone is good. It's not going to pick up anything. We got to make a U-turn. Hold on. But that's okay. It'll give me more time to talk, which is what I wanted. Okay, so he's a narcissist. He is a flat-out fucking narcissist. And if you want proof of that, just look at the rhetoric that he uses. He's lying in his own video. He's being intellectually dishonest, proving what I've been saying all along. He is intellectually dishonest because he's a narcissist. He wants to create this cult where he is the center of attention. He gets all this attention online. And he doesn't give a damn about the actual physics, which is something I've been saying all along, right? And so the question is, I'm an armchair fucking psychologist, but I have a theory as to what's going on here. When somebody has borderline personality disorder, it usually stems from their childhood, right? And it stems from parents. It doesn't necessarily stem from abusive relationships with parents. It could also come from parents rewarding the wrong type of behavior. So if parents are aloof, children will start to act out because they need love and attention when they're growing up, and so they'll try different characters. Rather than be their true self, their authentic self, they'll put on personas until they find something that gets them the attention they need, and that's what breeds the narcissistic, histrionic personality disorders and the borderline personality disorders. Or it's one way that can occur in children, right? So I think that's what happened with Gary, because Gary, was flunking. If he were a child today, he probably would have been diagnosed with ADD, or it's attention deficit disorder, or ADHD, or whatever it's called. It's not the adult version, it's the child version, because that's something you can outgrow. Although it doesn't, sometimes it will develop into adult ADHD. And usually usually when that happens, they have a difficult time concentrating on schoolwork, so they're very inconsistent. And it does not necessarily correlate with IQ. You can have a high IQ, and you can still have problems completing schoolwork because your attention span is not what it should be, right? And so their school performance is very inconsistent. One day they might be able to do everything perfectly, they might be able to read and write perfectly, and then on come test day, everything goes out the window, and it's like, oh yeah, you spent 10 hours doing homework for the past week, but all that stuff, you forgot it because of your ADHD. So I think that might have been what happened with Gary Mosher. And because his father was he was an influential man in the town. He was influential politically. He could pull strings. He probably had something to do with the people sitting on the school board. And so he probably ended up pulling some strings, much like he pulled some strings later when Gary flunked high school physics and, you know, ruined his chances of going to a good college like MIT, which is where his father obviously wanted him to go. So, you know, his father pulled some strings and had him retake the test, right? And so now Gary's explanation was that, oh no, I have a very high IQ, and when they had my IQ tested, they realized that I was some kind of super genius, and that's the reason they didn't put me in a slow class. Right, because in school they have the two classes. They have the one class for the you know, the normal kids, and then you have the other one where you have the kid, like the kid who sits in the corner eating glue, can't tie his shoelaces, that class. That's the class Gary was going to go to, but they couldn't, you know, his father pulled some strings, so he just kept graduating to the next class and the next class, right? Even though he was getting F's in everything, F's in every single subject, repeatedly. Right? And this is all stuff, by the way, how do I know all this stuff? Because he said it. He said all this stuff in his YouTube channels. He has stated that he has a social anxiety disorder, allegedly, that he has agoraphobia, and then if you mention that, he's like, you're violating the constitutional amendment called the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, which is not a constitutional amendment. It's a piece of legislation proving that, you know, he never pays attention to any detail ever. It's like, no, dipshit, you said all this stuff in your fucking videos, right? So And you know, he was also very curious. He was a very curious person. He took radios apart, put them back together again. But apparently that wasn't enough for his father and mother, because they expected different of him. So he couldn't be his true, authentic self. So he had to develop this persona. And a lot of that probably contributed to his inability to thrive in adulthood, because people who have borderline personality disorder and narcissism, that's one of the problems they have is the inability to face responsibility and to, you know, take responsibility for their own lives, right? And they have problems in their relationships with people. So if you watch him having conversations with people, like, for example, when the New Jersey Water and Electric Company, or whatever it's called, went to his house, and he just has like a full-on meltdown, right? That is an example of his inability to interact with people normally, because he has histrionic tendencies, which is a manifestation of the narcissistic personality that he has. So I think that he suffered a lot as a result of that, and that's why he can't hold down a job. That's why he has to get SSI in the mail, and it's why he lives in his fucking cellar, right? Because he lives in a cellar. I don't know if you know that. And this. So anyway, that's my armchair analysis of his situation, and it's the reason why he's lying. And no one should take his bullshit seriously. I mean, if you are under the impression that he is saying this stuff that he says because he actually believes any of it, think again. He might have a bunch of dumbass followers who just hang on his every word and everything he says is gospel because he's, they have some kind of they're basically cultists. So anything he says, they just automatically agree with, like automaton. You made your own bed, now lie in it. Okay.